So we have a brand new Thunderdome. I'm going to call it Thunderdome 2.0 because I'm a very creative fella. And yes, it looks exactly like the first one. I saw some people online going, I can't believe WWE didn't change it. It's only been around for about 3 months. What do you want to do? Just like paint it yellow like my stupid t-shirt and go, oh, look how different it is? It really doesn't matter. But what does matter is that we have to talk about the latest episode of WWE SmackDown, where of course we just praise Roman Reigns constantly, because if you do not praise Roman Reigns constantly, he goes absolutely bonkers. But the big question is, was it good or was it bad? Does it get an up or does it get a down? Let's ask the finger of power and up those downs for WWE SmackDown. We have too many contract signings. It is 100% official, made even more stupid, that within the contract signing, another match got made, but that one didn't need a contract signing. If that hurts your brain, don't worry, it hurt mine too. This was between Sasha Banks and Carmella for their big title match at the TLC pay-per-view. And one of the small issues that I'm having is that neither come across like very nice people. Basically, Carmella is a bit of an asshole, Sasha Banks is a bit of an asshole, so I just sit there and go, well, you may as well beat each other up, because you're both kind of assholes. Sasha was also furious because she was in the ring, but there was no contract to be seen, and that's because Carmella, who had stayed in the back, scared of getting beaten up, had taken the contract and signed it back there. She was also just talking in Bud's words. She said things like, oh, this is the chess of life, and I'm 4 steps forward, and as you know, nobody talks like that. Banks then said she was gonna rip Carmella's back into, which is a perfectly normal and understandable thing to say, when this new lackey that Carmella has ran to the ring and gave Sasha Banks the signed papers. Banks then used her big stamping, printing press thing, that is not what it's called, to say that she was in, and I'm 99% sure that is not legal. I think you have to get a little bit of a pen and just screw your name down on that line. But going back to my earlier point, yes, Sasha was so wound up by all of this, she turned to Mr. Piers and said, I would like to fight Carmella this evening instead. And he went, all right, man, let's do it. That sounds great. I was like, why don't we have to sign a contract for that? I know I'm pulling at straws, but again, I just don't understand the point of a contract signing, especially because we do it week after week after week after week. I always also think that it's a little bit strange when you do a match that you're going to do at a pay-per-view before the pay-per-view, because now I've seen it, so why would I want to see it again? And it all ended when Sasha Banks slapped the lackey right across the face and promised that she is going to be victorious. I think my main issue with this feud is I just do not believe, right down to my tippy toes, that Carmella is going to win the SmackDown Women's title. To the point that if she does win it at Table, Ladders and Chairs, I will dress up on a future episode of Ups and Downs as Mickey Mouse. I'm sure I will live to regret this. It happens a lot, but ultimately, it's just not for me. If it was for you, you win, as I always say. If you're entertained, you're doing better than I. Unfortunately though, down. The Street Profits were then making fun of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, also known as Rudolph, so Rudolph then made fun of them. I mean, this really is the depth of the whole feud. There is no other reason for them to be having matches. It was then Dolph Ziggler versus Montez Ford, which means, yes, we're kind of doing the exact same thing we're doing on Raw with the Hurt Business and the New Day, but much like all of those guys, they're just so flippin' talented, they're getting it up. The only thing I do need to point out is that there was this mad bit where halfway through, Dawkins jumped in the ring and all of a sudden all these blue solo cups just fell from the ceiling. Now, yes, the tag team champions had told us this was going to happen, but I just had so many questions. One, was the audio and I guess pyro guy in on this to make it happen? And shouldn't that technically be a disqualification? I have seen a lot worse. The real shame is that it did have to end with the classic distraction WWE domino finish. You know what I'm talking about. Montez Ford was on the top rope ready to do his big splash. Dawkins then jumped on the apron. I don't even know why. Bobby Roode attacked him, and that made Montez Ford's brain forget that he was in a wrestling match. Dolph Ziggler attacked him, gave him the super kick. 1, 2, 3, Ziggles picks up the win. This match was really fun, but the finishes like this are just so overplayed, which is going to be doubly true when we get to the end of this episode of Ups and Downs. But also, imagine trying to explain this whole story to your friend that never watched wrestling. Oh, why should I get involved? Well, you see, these guys, they don't like those guys, and these guys don't like those guys. That's it! You just don't have much to say because they're just tag teams and therefore are tag teaming, and there just so happens to be a tag title involved. I'd just like a little bit more depth, just a little bit that I could sip with a straw. A segment then backfired so royally on WWE I laughed my ass off. Because Sami Zayn was backstage at the merch table, which by the way didn't need to exist because there's no fans at the moment, and he was livid that he didn't have any t-shirts. Big E then rocked up to it and was like, hey man, I've got a t-shirt, but don't worry about it. There's no reason for you to be mad because me, Kalisto, and Apollo Crews, we went and sorted it out for you. So they pulled it out of a bag or wherever the hell it came from, and it said, I'm Mr. Zayn or whatever, and it had this really crappy, really rubbish pencil drawing of Sami Zayn. But what happened was, it was so bad, it was good. It is one of the best WWE t-shirts I've seen throughout the entire year. Mostly you just have WWE shouting you in your face, like they all have to do. I would have bought this yesterday. So you should sell this shirt, WWE. It was the perfect example of laziness meets goofiness. So this just made me side with Sami Zayn, hence why it didn't really work as intended. Zayn also tried to rip it up because he was so mad before he stormed off. But that was also because we were about to get a non-title match between Sami Zayn and the one and only Big E. It was fun again. The only problem is that really we could take everything we just said for the opening match and copy and paste it here, and it was almost exactly the same. However, when it does come to the meat and the bones, it was very meaty and it was very bony. That's a good thing. Zayn kept moaning the whole time that WWE doesn't respect him, and the way he does it is just so damn entertaining. And then of course Big E would catch up to him and he would kick the crap out of him. At one point, even when Sami did have a little bit of respite, as opposed to attacking his opponent, he just decided to mock Big E's dancing, and that just made Big E even madder, so he went back to kicking him in the face. Zayn got back into it by raking Big E right in the eyes, and there was this brilliant bit where he went for the haluva kick, and Big E reversed it into a uranagi. Then that got even better, because Sami Zayn was rolling around the floor going, my arm, I think I've broken my arm. He's so damn good. Big E didn't believe all this, so he slapped Sami Zayn right in the face, which caused him to be so scared, he didn't just leave the ring, he went under the ring. Big E then decided to follow, and this is when the badness came, because when Sami Zayn did emerge, Big E grabbed his leg, Sami stomped on Big E's head, he got in the ring, closed her eyes, pretend it didn't happen, which meant Big E got counted out. Now I get that this is Sami Zayn's thing at the moment, it's exactly what he did with Apollo Crews, but if it is Sami Zayn's thing, why are we doing it in other matches? Let this be when the shenanigans happen, and let other fights that you're trying to present as being real end with clean finishes. There's nothing wrong with not clean finishes, but there is when you just never expect them anymore because we're so used to screwy finishes. What's the point of going, oh, Sami Zayn did it again? No, he didn't. He just acted like a WWE wrestler. More to the point though, why wasn't Big E allowed to win? One, everybody's Sami Zayn, which I don't like, but hey, this was not the time to change all of that. And two, his singles push now has been going on for about 4 months, and it's just a little bit stop-starty. But mostly for the finish, it's got to get it down. We were backstage with Bayley next, and she was looking into the camera saying that Sasha Banks is an absolute moron and Carmella's going to whip her ass, and that of course Bianca Belair can kiss her ass. Unfortunately for her, Bianca Belair was behind her, she heard all of this, and then she just started to run Bales down. All of this though was very good. Bianca Belair's character, it works. We then had another interview with Carmella though, and I audibly said out loud, why? Like we're a bunch of wrestlers stuck in traffic, so we just had to fill time, especially because she just said exactly the same thing as she did earlier and then just went, hey lackey, go do some lackey stuff. I don't know man, maybe I'm not seeing something because I got a problem with my eye like Rey Mysterio, you tell me. Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens were then here though, and they took SmackDown and they threw it into the roof like Lance Archer. Up. Reigns was in the back watching a monitor, thankfully like a normal person, like he wasn't staring at it like that, when Jey Uso approached, and poor Jey Uso, he is such a broken man. He kind of like, tiptoed up to Roman and was like, hey man, are you good? Are you good? Please be good. And when Roman said that he is good because he's feeling confident, oh my gosh, the sigh of relief by one Jey Uso. The mood instantly changed though as soon as Kevin Owens' music hit as he made his way to the ring, and just fair play and a round of applause for Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Their faces switched from being like the happy, lovely, we're gonna have a great Christmas family to, I can't believe you got me a PS4 for Christmas. Don't you know that there's a PS5 out? It was so well done. Owens made sure to get a table, ladder, and a chair from under the ring, to justify the pay-per-view. And then, KO, you're so crazy, man. What are you doing? He said, Roman, I don't fear you at all, even though right now you're better than you ever have been. And as far as I'm concerned, you are using your family for your own gain. The sheer fear I had in my heart. He then started talking about his own family and said even though they're at home, he has some friends who could help him out. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe Kevin Owens is going to form a group of his own. But no, he was referring to his buddies, table, ladders and chairs. I'm not going to lie, That was a little bit of a bust. He did make the very good point, though, that they allow him to break people's bones. And then he was like, when I break a table, Roman, how the hell are you going to sit at the head of it? And it made me laugh again. And I was like, oh no, nobody tell Roman Reigns. It was here that Jey Uso did appear, and he just wrecked Kevin Owens' knee with a steel chair. But unfortunately for Jey, Kevin was able to turn the tables on him, which was very bad because he also then got pop-up powerbombed through a table. And then when Roman Reigns' music hit once again, the sheer terror I have in my brain. One of these days, he's going to be so mad at his cousin that he's just going to kill him. Going to get a knife and go mad. What was interesting here, though, is that for the first time, Roman Reigns actually listened to Paul Heyman. He was stood by his side and saying, look, you can go in there, but really, if you do, you are on Kevin Owens' time, and this is Roman Reigns' land. We don't do anything on anybody else's time. We do things when we want. He agreed, and he left. That did make me go, huh. Of course, Owens was having none of this, so he chased Roman Reigns to the back, even though he did have this bad knee, and then flipping Kayla Braxton. She tried to get a word from KO at the worst time, and that allowed the big dog, the tribal chief, whatever you want to call him, to come from nowhere, and he honestly beat Kevin Owens within an inch of his life. Do you know what Reigns did afterwards too? He looked down the camera, like I'm doing now, and he said, hello, Kevin Owens' family. I'm Roman Reigns, and I'm the person that is about to take food off your table unless you talk to your daddy, you talk to your husband, and you tell him to calm the hell down. This guy is an actual sociopath. No, wait. No, you're not. Oh, Roman Reigns, you're the best. You're the number. I think you should be the champion until 40-24. And I don't even know what's going on that year, but you should still hold the belt. I think we got away with it. Either way, though, Roman is just the best character. There is so much you can take from this. I like it. But there's no reason it was the Riot Squad taking on Billie Kay and Natalya. Like Natty beat Bayley last week. But don't worry about it, I know why. Ever wonder why a man is wearing a jumper back to front, especially because mere seconds ago, he was just doing a wrestling review show? Well, much like WWE, in life, sometimes stuff just happens. So if you are trying to figure out why we did have this impromptu tag team match, just call us on 0800 Stuff Just Happens. Someone is always waiting to take your call, which of course is a lie, because as I've just said, sometimes stuff just happens. You may even find yourself on the phone talking to a goat. And yeah, look, it was all from talking smack because all these people had fallen out, and I think it probably lasted around about 7 seconds. Ruby Riott hit the right kick onto Billie Kay, for some reason then just scooted into the corner of the ring like she was some kind of cat. I really like Billie Kay. This is not the way to use her. She should just be being the new Santina Marella, getting it down. And then fair play to WWE. When you first teamed up Chad Gable and Otis, it just seemed like a completely random thing to do because you had run out of ideas. But here they showed this training video, and I was very much sports entertained. Because it was just Gable trying to get Otis to catch a ball blindfolded, and we did the classic montage thing. At the start, he absolutely sucked. At the end, he was able to do it, and just the bromance that these two seemed to be having, it made me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. So I liked them instantly, which was even more true when they did an interview afterwards. Because even though they are kind of like buddy-buddy, friendly, there was also a lot of passive aggression here as they just kept taking shots at each other. The funniest thing of all of it is that I'm 99% sure Chad Gable is just slightly taller than Otis, and don't forget around about 6 months ago, Chad Gable was Shorty G, the shortest wrestler that ever walked the wrestling world. It also seems like they're going to be a proper tag team because they have a tag team match later against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, and I know what you're thinking, I thought it too. Why do we bother breaking up heavy machinery? But let's just take what we can get. Cesaro and Shinsuke then walked up and had some of the worst insults you'd ever heard in your life, like, did you go to the Olympics to do limbo contests? And I was like, oh man, somebody shoot me. But I was very excited about that match. I mean, listen to who the hell was in it. And then, just to put you in a state where maybe you wondered, wait a minute, am I dreaming? AC Slater, or Mario Lopez, he'll always be Saved by the Bell to me, was in his Access Hollywood studio going, well, I've thought about it, and I want Sasha Banks to win the main event. And this was all some weird promotion for a KFC. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Also, why doesn't this man age? We then had that tag match between Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, Otis and Chad Gable, and it was just a rollicking good time, which means it gets an up. And now we have to talk about sadness. Because Chad and Oat just lost. I do not understand why WWE does this. Like, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura are a great team, but they didn't benefit from this at all. If you had given a win to the brand new boys, it just would have given you a glimmer of light to go, I wonder where it's gonna go. It also didn't last very long, although I will say, when Cesaro and Chad Gable in there, it was absolute magic. But yeah, eventually he got kneed in the face, and there was the 1, 2, 3. Now, there was a little bit of a twist, because Otis had this one at one point, but Gable was like, tag me in, and that's where it all went bad. He got spun around by Cesaro, there was Shinsuke, and we were done. So the follow-up to all of this is that when we were in the back, Chad Gable was like, man, you're still not learning in the way that you need to be an alpha, because of course that's the name of his school. Even though I was telling you to tag me in, you should have known that was the wrong thing to do, so don't worry that we lost. You're gonna learn as we keep on rollicking and rolling. And that is a really good story bit, but you also could have done it the other way around. I'm just so sick of new people or new teams being introduced and then they just lose every single time, and that's why it's a down. I am very intrigued about all this stuff with Baron Corbin though. Because after a recap of last week, Baron did introduce us to Blake and Cutler, who we did see 7 days ago, as the Knights of the Lone Wolf, and that made my eyebrow go, wait a minute, what the hell did he just say? Now personally, I'd move away from all the royalty stuff, because we're not doing the King of the Ring anymore, and you need that to keep it relevant, but he's not dressing like that anymore, which is important, but also he references NXT character, and that guy was an absolute badass. Also, the minions that he have already made me chuckle away. When somebody came to interview him, they got out a metal detector just to make sure she wasn't going to do any funny business. I thought that was very, very entertaining. Also, Corbin's character as the head of the group just works, especially if he can just boss them around. Now, all we have to do is make the end of days the real most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, and this may be about to light a fire throughout all of SmackDown. I am keeping everything crossed. Then our main event ended in a DQ. I mean, come on. This ties into every single thing that we have already discussed about. If you know you're gonna do a disqualification in your main event, just don't do it anywhere else, or at least let other matches end clean, because by the time this happened, I just face palming over and over. I don't expect clean finishes anymore. We should not be in that world. However, it does leave us in a kind of difficult situation, because I thought Sasha Banks and Carmella did everything they could to get you invested in this feud, so what the hell do I do with the finger of power? With that said, I do find it weird that I've now already seen these two fight. Why do I need to see them at TLC, unless we're going to do something like a champagne bottle match? And what I mean by that is when all was said and done, Carmella was celebrating because she had got a champagne bottle and she had smashed it over Sasha Banks' head. But before all of this, it was the ending that really got me, because as we have done quite a lot in 2020, the reason Sasha Banks was DQ'd is that despite being a professional wrestler and probably being trained in the world of kayfabe to be super aggressive, the referee decided, well, I think you're being a little bit too aggressive, I don't like it, it's not to my taste, and therefore I'm just calling the whole thing off. That is so lame. And Sasha did absolutely lose it after this, like she even got that new lackey in the bank statement before Carmella made her big comeback. Also, when Sasha Banks was coming to the ring and she had her entrance video, one of her accolades was cousin of Snoop Dogg, so I really think she pulled that one out of the bag. And I really am confused about this. I know a lot of people liked it because you tweeted me and I was like, good for you. There's just a disconnect there with me. I'm trying so damn hard, but it ain't just working. So you'll have to forgive me. This is getting it down. Maybe it's just because we're coming off the Bayley feud and that was so good, and this does feel a little bit last minute. I do really like Carmella's new presentation. Her entrance makes her feel like a star, but everything else, I mean, I'm doing that thing with my hands that I always do. This basically means Simon is confused. And yes, one day I will be locked away from doing it. Which brought us to the end of SmackDown, and it was still a good show. It really, really was. It ticks along. There were some new things like the Chad Gable and Otis thing, which did make me go, oh, I'm going to watch this. And the Baron Corbin group especially, well, please do not screw that up. So overall, it can get an up. Just not so sure about TLC. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of SmackDown. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Go to WhatCulture.com. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. And watch more videos on YouTube, especially today. It's Saturday, the day of sitting there, eating pizza, and checking out YouTube. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. I always do appreciate your time. I'll see you soon.